Greetings of the day, friends. Nowadays, when we want to go for job, the process of facing an interview is going to be obvious. All of us, we have to go through this particular phenomenon of what you call as an interview. Now, an interview is an art. There is a science of interview as well as there is an art of facing an interview. Myself, Sunil Joshi, had experience of 31 years of teaching in the government polytechnic and also has worked in industry like Bajaj Auto, VIP Industries and like. The blend of the experience of facing an interview at the different places, and I have also participated in taking the interviews for the different organizations. So let us have a dialogue between us for how to face an interview. That is the art of facing an interview. When we go for an interview, what are the prime things which we are supposed to understand? Is the first of all our impression when we go for an interview. The external appearance of an individual at the interview matters much. So naturally, your dressing sense, what way you have dressed is going to be an important parameter when you are going to go for an interview. The second part will be arrive in good time. That is, the timing for an interview is going to be looked very seriously. If you are not able to attend the interview in time, it makes very bad impression, and as all of us we are well aware about, the first impression is the last impression. So let us not at least think in a different way about maintaining the time when we are going for an interview. The next thing is your gestures, postures, the way in which you behave may not be expressly through words but through your body language. It matters much. How you appear in an interview. Your face says many things about you without saying even a single word. The fourth is expect the unexpected. Hearing. We are now going to talk about the dialogue between you and the interviewer. The interviewer may be a single person or may be number of person, that is the panel which may be there with whom you are going to have a dialogue. That is, unexpected questions may be asked to you. What kind of questions and what not, that we are going to see in due course of discussions here. And the last but not the least, before the exit from the interview, many a times or in maximum cases you are permitted to ask questions. So what types of questions we should ask also matters much. What is an interview? the things which we are talking about, that we will have to go for facing an interview, let us understand what is an interview first. Interview is the most commonly used tool for selection process of the personal interview. An interview is conversation with a purpose between two person or group of persons. They are done not only for the purpose of recruitment or selection for a post, but also to gather information from someone important. Now, interview maybe in this particular context which we are talking about may be for selection for a post, but always the interview may not only be for selection of post. Like on the TV we have seen a number of interviews being taken and gathering some important information from some important personnel, like the interview of finance minister after the budget. Now, nobody has to appoint anybody as a finance minister. The finance minister is already there, but he has put the budget in the session in the house, and now people want to know more about it. Through the TV anchor, through the different channels, they are being interviewed. That is also kind of interview. Even though it is a two-way traffic, it is mostly seen that employer is the one who asks the questions and interviewee is supposed to reply. Though they say it's a two-way communication, the communication in most of the cases which we are more concerned about, that is about the interview, job interviews, is a one-way communication. The employer, the recruiter asks the question and you, the interviewee, the candidate, only answers the question. Now, different personal purposes for a personal interview are to rate a candidate for his physical appearance, education, achievement, qualification, level of intelligence, background, interest, aptitude, etc., etc., etc. And what are the different types of interviews? We have understood what exactly the interview is for. Then what way the interviews they are conducted, or what are the different types of interviews? It will be of our interest to see, because at times we will come across facing the interview of different kinds in different capacities. The first type of interview is informal interview. In this type of interview, it's conducted in the informal settings. Neither the interviewer nor the interviewee are aware about the defined definite purpose. It's just something like that I have been recommended by somebody for some particular purpose, and the person who wants to use my services wants to test me. So in the informal chatting, in the informal discussions, he is going to talk to me and wants to know something about me for his purpose, his use, informal. Formal interview. Now this type of interview is the interview which is conducted most commonly for recruitment of personnel. Now the interviews which normally we will be coming across will be formal type of interview. They will be well organized, well arranged interviews. The interviewer, the interviewee are aware about, that is, the time, place, etc. are very much fixed. Then pattern type interview. In this type of interview also conducted most commonly for recruitment of personnel. Then in-depth interview. In such interview, questions are based upon specific area of the interviewee's interest. This may not be for the job, but it may be for some different purposes. Like, as I told in the earlier discussion, that the interview of the finance minister after the budget, or you have put forth some legislation, or you have done something, you have invented something, how it will be useful for the common people, I want to know. And that type of interview may be interview of a scientist about his invention by the TV interviewer, or maybe by the any type of other interview, maybe depth interview. In such interview, questions are based upon specific area of interviewee's interest. I want to know something about it, and that's why I'm interviewing that. Stress interview. Stress interview for the selection at typical places, because the stress interviews will be conducted for the recruitment of personnel at a different higher level, because as and when we are going to the higher post, the work stresses these days, they are increasing to a great extent, and to cope up with this type of things, we have to talk about the interview stress interviews. It's equal importance to judge the suitability of an individual's competence based on the stress endurance along with the knowledge and intelligence. Exactly, knowledge and intelligence is required, but at the same time, how much stress can you bear? How can you work in the stressed situation? That is to be seen. The next type of interview is the group interview, when we are required to perform a task in a group. Now you have to create a group and assign a task to that particular group, not to an individual. So who will be a fit personnel? Who will be the members of such type of group? Who will be the people who will be fit in that particular group is required to be assessed, and then accordingly, maybe through the in a structured manner, the interviews are conducted for creating a group in the group interviews. That is, they will be having the other techniques used along with the interview, and like that technique of group discussion, typical common task being given, how you fare in that task, and accordingly you are going to get selected in that particular situation. Panel interview. For senior level position, selection of panel of experts selects the candidate. Now, this is another type of interview for a typical post. Now, you have to look into the candidate about his different capacities, like the managerial capabilities, then dealing with the particular situational capabilities. Then you have to talk about the different capabilities of an individual, and then a single individual may not be sufficient to assess all those. So experts from different areas are involved in the panel of interviewers, and such type of interview will be termed as a panel interview. Well friends, we have seen what is an interview, what are the different types of interview. Now the situation is that you have to face an interview. So very simple rules to face an interview. There are some 10 simple rules. We will talk about them in details one by one, but just I'll read all those 10 rules. Rule number 1 says, behave as you are. Don't pretend to be something different than what you are. That is, behave normally. Second rule is, reach the interview site well before time, at least well within time. Rule number 3, try to know the organization, try to know the company, try to know the place where you are supposed to get interviewed. Rule number 4, be focused. Be aware about what are you there for. Then rule number 5, behave as if you are already in the job. A very, very important thing. When you will be answering the questions of an interviewer, that you have to understand that you are there in the job itself. That is, get oneness with the job and then try to appear for the interview. Then rule number 6, be genuine and honest. Then rule number 7, never answer questions about which you are not very sure. Like many of us in the institutes, when we were learning, we had faced what you call as the Viva Voce. Therein we have said whatever we wanted, whether we were aware about or were not aware about. We just answered the questions bluntly, thinking that it may or may not work. Don't bother about. But herein, never answer the questions about which you are not very sure about. Wish all members before and after the interview. Rule number 8. Tool number 9, mind your body language. And last, and well, we have seen the 10 probable things which we have to remember when we are supposed to go for an interview. Now it's time to go for an interview. What preparations you have to make to face a job interview? Let's talk something about it. Preparing for a job interview. Interviews, basically any type of interview, typically a job interview, they are always to know all about you. The focus, the center of attraction is the interviewee, the person being interviewed. So the interviewer always will be interested in knowing about you, and you have to take your own benchmark and standards to make good impression. How can you impress the person who wants to hire you, hire your services? That you have to keep in mind and prepare for a job interview. Before facing an interview, ask yourself, how can I be successful in an interview? So always keep in your mind, before facing an interview, think always how I will be successful in the interview. And then accordingly you will start preparing for the same. And for that you have to go for researching. Research, read, learn about the interviewing company. Know something about the company to which you are going to go for the job interview. Like, I am going to go for an interview with a bank. Then, what about that bank? The information about that bank, right from who is there at the highest top level to what are the different ways. Like State Bank, if you talk about how many branches are there, the maximum reach, what is the, whatever the different parameters regarding that. If you want to go for an interview with, say, Tata's, if you want to go for interviews with Bajaj, if you want to go for interview with XYZ organization, then learn about that company first. And then think about in that direction what may be the questions in the interview. Ask the question in the interview. Think as the interviewing employer. Keep yourself in that position as an interviewing employer and think of what you are going to ask. So interview yourself. Try to prepare for the interview by interviewing yourself. And that will the readiness for your interview, that you want to appear for an interview or ready for that interview. Now you have to appear before the interviewing panel, or you have to appear before the interviewer for any interview. Your dressing, your clothes, they do matter. Iron your clothes before interview. Iron your clothes the night before and clean your footwear. Wear sensible wedges if you can handle them, or formal flat closed toe shoes that match with the outfit. Try to avoid making use of the chappals, the sandals, etc. as far as possible. Try to make use of the formal dress materials. Stick to black shades in shoes. No bright reds or animal prints, please. You are going for an interview. Mind well, you are not going to go for a fashion show. So you have to be very sensible to this kind of things. Wear formal business clothes. A knee-length skirt that's not too tight with a formal blouse and a jacket is good. So is a pair of trousers that fit well. You could also wear a formal Indian salwar kameez if you are not comfortable in western wear. Specifically for the girls we are not talking about. Make sure that the kurta is of sensible color. Don't overdo the makeup and the accessories. Oh, and be sure to wear a watch. Normally, we are under the impression I am having my cell phone in which I can see the time and all that. No, you are going for an interview. Be formal, be complete, and accordingly you have to have the necessary additional accessories with you. A watch is a compulsory accessory when you are going to go for an interview. Handbags must be formal, sensible ones, not the jazzy, blingy kinds that we see today. You are having your bags in which you are kind of having n number of things contained therein. No, please see to it that you are going for an interview and not again for shopping, not in a shopping mall. So do not carry unnecessary things with you in your bags. That is the things which will be coming in the dressing sense. That's what exactly dress up at the interview. The interview buddy says, women's dress code, etiquettes, normal course of time, even in the places like Mumbai, Delhi, metros, or now even when we are going to go for the interviews in the smaller places. The dress code for women has been now defined very well. Similarly, for a male, dress up at the interview, the slide picture itself is very clear. A trimmed haircut, clean shaved, with a warm smile on their face, a confident look, the formal dress, firm handshake, correct body postures. These are going to be the things which we are going to observe as a dress up. The dress up will be the first impression which you will be carrying when you are going to visit the interview room, the place where the interview is going to be conducted. The first interaction of yours with the interviewer face to face is going to decide about many things, and that's why the dress up at the interview is going to be very, very important parameter which we have to consider and accordingly be prepared for the interview. Now we have talked about how to dress up for an interview, how to impress the interviewer. But before that, we always and almost should remember that we have to reach the location well within time. If the location is far away, that is, if you have to move for interview to outstation, to another city, like a person from Mumbai has to go to Ahmedabad, or from person like from Pune has to go to say some other place which is far away from his normal place of residence, then see that you are reaching well in advance, at least a day ahead in advance, to see where the exact location of the office where the interview is going to be conducted is, what time to leave. Suppose you are coming to Mumbai and staying at a particular place, maybe at a place, your relative's place or your friend's place or in some hotel, whatever soever. Then you have to travel to the destination where the interview, the office destination where the interview is going to be conducted, and see to it that how much time probably it will require. Suppose it requires half an hour, then see to it that you are starting from your place at least 1.5 hours, 1 hour earlier than the scheduled period of reaching at the place, so that for any reason like the traffic jams and all that, you will not be having an embarrassing situation to reach at the place in time. So do and trial run to the interview location is the most important. Otherwise, if at the time of interview we are not in a position to reach to the interview place well within time, it creates very bad impression. Mind well. Well, you have thought of how to dress up for an interview. You also have taken a trial run to reach to your destination for an interview. The next important part will be the interview essentials to carry. What should you carry with you at the interview site? Whether you are a male candidate or a female candidate. It hardly matters. The essentials which you have to carry, they will be of the similar nature more or less. As far as possible, carry whatever the essentials like the documents and the other necessities in some covered leather portfolio. Black leather portfolio with a clean white notepad and a pen that works, so that you can jot down your questions on the notepad. Make sure to also write the name, number and address of the person you are going to meet at the workplace. Imagine that you forget your phone at home and realize it midway, or the phone conks off while you are traveling. What may happen? So these are the essentials which you must carry additionally. Many times we think these days that I am having this particular thing, what you call as my cell phone is with me. But again, mind well, my friends, it's a machine. It may fail at times and then you may be in trouble. So better to have the additional information with you. The other necessary documents definitely you are going to carry with you. I need not tell. Now, you have thought of what you are going to wear. You have thought of where you are going to go for. Then the essentials, like the additional things which I have told, you are carrying with you in a well-mannered, in a well-covered bag and all that. Now, you are there to go for an interview. The interview is scheduled on a particular day at particular place. The interview day preparation, what we call. Be punctual in the interview. There are people who have lost good job, good opportunity just because they have been late for an interview. कहा जाता है, हम अगर स्टेशन पे लेट पहुंचते हैं, गाड़ी टाइम पे आके निकल जाती है, we are then helpless. एक बार गाड़ी निकल गई, आप वहीं पे रहने वाले हो. So वक्त, you must remember the time. Time for an interview is going to be the crucial factor. So always see to it that you are reaching well at the time. Reaching early will give an opportunity to freshen up, to calm down. If you reach earlier, you will get an opportunity to calm down, to have look toward the things. Otherwise, you don't want to have to run upstairs and reach the lobby huffing, puffing. Enough to bring house down with a sweaty forehead, eyeliner streaming down your cheeks because of your eyelids are sweating. No messy situation. So with the proper care you have reached at the interview site. Now be present in the interview moment. Smile at the receptionist, thank him or her and walk confidently towards the interview room. This is your moment, lady or a gentleman. You got the rock. Make sure you walk into the room oozing of confidence and a professional friendliness. A smile is your best accessory. Don't overdo it. Also, don't rush into the room. Knock politely and open the door carefully. Greet your interviewer with some smile. A professional hello. You have entered into the room and now further the process starts, which we are going to see just immediately. What we have to do, but at the interview site, understand the things which have been said. Be present, make sure that you are not disturbed, you are confident. And so at the interview site, we are supposed to be present in the interview at right time. When we are at the interview site now, smile at the receptionist, thank him or her, and walk confidently towards the interview room. This is your moment. You got to rock. Make sure you walk into the room oozing of confidence and professional friendliness. A smile is best accessory. Don't overdo it though. Also, don't rush into the room. Knock politely. Open the door very carefully. Greet your interviewer with a smile and a professional hello. Well, friends, now you are there in the interview room. They have said hello. They have offered you a chair. Now, after offering the chair, after offering the chair only, you are supposed to occupy the chair. Let them offer you the chair. The process starts. The conversation starts. Have a habit of making notes. You may make the notes by the pen and on the paper, or you may make the note inside your mind. Make notes while the interviewer is speaking. Don't write entire blog. You are not supposed to write down the story, but you are supposed to make the noting of certain specific points. Let your spirit not wander. Don't spend time criticizing yourself after each answer and let your soul wander. Live for the moment and stay in your senses. Nods with the interviewer are important. When you are being interviewed, your body language, the nodding, the things that what he is asking, you are understanding it, should be very, very obvious from your body language. Verbal and non-verbal nods are important. Don't shake your head vigorously, though at everything your interviewer is saying. You are supposed to nod with the interviewer does not mean that you are supposed to make your head move continuously here and there. The appropriate nodding is more important. Now, during this interview, you may come across certain questions which are regarded in the interview questions terminology as the tricky interview questions. They are very common yet tricky interview questions which are certain to come during any kind of interview. You must be well prepared for this type of questions as well by the following tips. Why should we or I hire you? Tell me or tell us about yourself. Now, at first, these seem to be very, very simple, straightforward questions. But these are tricky questions. Be ready for answering these tricky questions. Why should we hire you? Why should I take you in my company and whatnot kind of things. Dear interviewee, you are a professional. You want to get a job. You want to work for the company. You are not a beggar there. So do not beg for the job. Or do not even appear very keen Too keen appearance or begging for a job is not expected. You will not ace an interview if you appear needy or too eager. आपल्याला भीक मागायची नाहीये. आमच्यात काहीतरी आहे. We do possess certain things. We do have certain qualities, and for that you are supposed to hire us. You are supposed to pay us. Candidates who are confident in themselves and their worth definitely stand a better chance of getting the job than people who almost always beg for the job. No interviewer, no organization would like to put a beggar there at the responsible post within their organization. That is very sure. So always remember, you are a professional. You are possessing certain skills for which they are going to hire you. They want to pay you for exploring the benefits of your skill for their organization. In this techno-savvy world, it's highly likely that you might have to have the interview over the telephone or via video conferencing. So you want to make sure that you get the below things right. Make sure that all the equipment required for interview are working. Do a test run an hour before interview starts. Why? Because if we do not do it at the moment of the interview, if the failure occurs because of certain things, it's going to be a very what you call as a typically bad situation. Don't come across that. You must be in a proper location for the interview. Practice the interview with a friend. Look into the camera. Say you are supposed to look face to face. So when you want to look to face to face, and this is an indirect interview, the interview through the technology, techno-savvy world, telephonic or video conferencing interviews. Herein, you should have a confidence to see to the person with whom you are going to talk to. So face-to-face interview, directly look into the camera. That will be directly making you to see to the person with whom you are supposed to have an interview. Smile, but not like just a cat. Switch off your phone. Make notes. If the sound is bad, wait for a few seconds before you respond to the interviewer so that you don't speak over them. See, these are the technical things, technicalities in this kind of interviews. And this kind of interviews, they are going to be very common in the days to come. The typical situations of the pandemic like Corona has made the social distancing a very buzzword, and to have the interaction with the interviewer, the job seeker and the job giver, they must come across each other through this kind of distant telephonic or video interviews also. Speak into normal voice. Don't fake an accent. Dress professionally. If you are unfamiliar with the equipment, software, hardware, then practice before the interview for a few days. This is very important thing. Have a backup plan if something goes wrong. Like nowadays, normally we are going to go through these things, that video conferencing and all that. We may be using the desktop or maybe using the laptop. Beyond that, be prepared with what you call as backup plan. You have already the mobile phone, the Android phones, which also have the similar kind of facilities available as your laptops. So for some reason or the other, if your laptop fails, start immediately. Make use of immediately your cell phone, and from that continue with the interview. Have a backup plan in this particular context. In case of power failure or other unforeseen problem, be honest with the interviewer and request them to reschedule. Many of the times they also understand your difficulties and they do reschedule, but to be avoided, if as far as don'ts of an interview, you are not supposed to do these kind of things during an interview. Don't be late. Reach the interview venue on time. Don't be over friendly. Don't appear too defensive or too aggressive. Don't laugh too loud. Don't crack stupid jokes just because your interviewer appears friendly. It might be something for testing your some quality. So, to give a good nod, to appreciate the jokes during the interview is fine. But again, contouring the joke with another joke from your side is not expected. Don't wear inappropriate clothing. Don't land up without copies of your resume. See, documents which are required for that kind of an interview, whatsoever needs, all those things you must carry. Beforehand, before a day, confirm that all the things which are required, the documents which are required are available with you. Don't forget to switch off your phone before you enter into the room. You don't want it suddenly going off in between the interview. It happens because at a particular situation, the interview is going on in full swing and suddenly the phone rings. It's very, very embarrassing for you as well as for the interview. So mind well, you are not supposed to do this kind of things. Don't have an interview. Some things you are not supposed to say in an interview. Understand it very well. If you are going for a new interview, you are already there in a job and now you want to go for changing over of the job. In such cases, never say any bad thing about your previous employer. Like, oh, my previous manager was a jerk, I had a horrible team, the company isn't all it's made out to be, I hated the culture there. Don't use swear or slag words even by mistake. You are not supposed to make use of bad words about your previous employer. Name dropping, complete no. I don't know if I'll fit in. I don't know if I am right for the role. No, you are not supposed to say kind of things ever. And last but most important interview tip. This is not an end. It never will be. It happens to every one of us. We often fear of what happens if we are not selected. If you can, just stop feeding your mind with negative thoughts. You'll always get opportunities. Just be calm and prepare smart. I hope these tips help you land that dream job, and if you don't get the job, no worries. You are more confident than you were before. All the best, my friends. Just before saying bye to you, the very simple words: never ever doubt your abilities for a moment in life. Wish you good luck and all the best. Thank you and all the best.